Cassius, Clone Wars. Part 4, The Shroud of Dravok. Chapter 4. Cassius sat on his knees for several minutes without moving. He was dumbfounded. What just happened? Corbin just snapped. His best friend just tried to kill him. And Sarah. Cassius had to see if she was okay. Rushing down the corridors as fast as he could, he entered the medical bay where Sarah was being tended to. Master Dravok stood close by. How is she? Is she safe?
Breathe, Cassius. The doctors are looking her over.
Cassius went to Sarah's side and saw a nasty mark from the hilt of Corbin's saber on the side of her skull. Is she going to be all right?
She has suffered a severe concussion from the impact, but she should pull through. We're going to keep her overnight to keep an eye on her. When she wakes up, we'll be sure to let you know.
Cassius sighed in relief before looking at Dravok. What happened? Why did he attack like that?
I don't know, Cassius. I've never seen something like this before.
One moment he was fine. We were sparring like we always did, and then... Oh, God. Cassius put his hands on his face.
You should try to relax, Cassius. I'm sure we'll have the answer soon enough.
Cassius sat by Sarah's bed and looked at her sleeping. It wasn't long before one of the temple guards arrived and summoned him to the council chamber. Cassius said goodbye to Sarah and followed the guard there. When he arrived, he saw Corbin standing in the center of the chamber looking confused and irritated. Cassius! Cassius looked at Corbin, unsure of what to say. Master Windu sat, observing Corbin carefully. Looking around, Cassius saw that a few masters were not present. Where's Master Yoda?
Master Yoda is currently off-world and won't be within comm range for 3 days. That's nothing you need to concern yourself with at the moment. I want to know what happened, Cassius. You first.
Cassius wasn't sure he knew what transpired himself. This all felt like a bad dream. Corbin and I, we were asked by Master Dravok to spar for the Padawans. It started off like any other practice duel, but I don't know what happened. Corbin just lost it.
What did he do?
After he disarmed me, he tried to kill me.
That's not true, Cassius. I'd never hurt you. Corbin, Cassius is speaking. Continue, Cassius.
Sarah, she tried to stop him, but then he attacked her too. She's in the medical facility right now. It took Master Terran and Master Dravok to finally restrain him.
Corbin, what do you remember about what happened?
Master, I don't know. I was fighting 1 minute, and then the next I was pinned to the ground and being restrained. But you need to believe me, I didn't mean for that to happen. A few of the council members murmured to each other before Master Windu spoke again.
Corbin, I'd like to speak to your master, if I may.
Master Tarn stepped forward.
Has Corbin exhibited any signs of serious aggression before today?
In the past, Corbin is indeed shown to be rather fierce as it pertains to his etiquette in combat. He has shown difficulty restraining himself in the heat of battle. As for his temperament, he is angered quite easily. However, this is the first time I've seen him exhibit such ferocity.
Cassius, you've spent a lot of time with Corbin. Have you noticed anything similar to this?
Cassius thought, and remembered their mission on Valkor Prime. Well, when we were kidnapped by Valkorian pirates, Corbin, he nearly killed one of them using an ability that, he tried to suffocate him, Master.
We were locked in a cell, Cassius. I was under a lot of pressure. Corbin, please.
Cassius looked at his friend and back to Master Windu. Ever since the start of the war, Corbin has changed. He's not himself. I don't know what's happened to him.
Corbin stepped forward. You want to know what's happened? I'll tell you exactly what's happened. Corbin, do not speak out of turn. We're trying to get to the root of the problem. We just want to help you. Oh, so now you want to help? How dare you? You hypocrite!
The members of the council exchanged worried gasps and looks with each other. Corbin, whatever you're going to say, don't. You're in enough trouble as it is.
I don't care. I can't take this anymore. You all sit here in your chairs and think you're helping anyone. Look around you. Look at everything going on in the galaxy. Look how many innocent lives are lost every day because of your inaction. I've given my life, my health, and my everything serving the Republic in this conflict. But you, what have you done, Windu? What have any of you done? Do you know how often I've been sent to the front lines and watched my troops die? Not to mention innocent men, women, and children who were sucked into this war against their wishes. And I'm supposed to just be a good little boy and pretend that we're the good guys? You're just as bad as the Separatists. You're two sides of the same coin. I can't stand it anymore. Enough.
Corbin huffed and seethed as his face turned red with anger. Cassius was in shock. This wasn't the friend he knew.
Corbin Roth, your service to the Jedi Order will no longer be required. What? Your anger is consuming you. You've attacked your fellow Jedi and injured another. You have become a liability that the Jedi Order cannot afford to keep within its ranks. No, you can't do this. Master, tell them. Tell them I'm not a threat.
Master Terran looked upon his former student with a deep sadness.
I'm sorry, Corbin. I failed you as a master.
Corbin's eyes filled with tears of anger and sadness as Cassius stepped forward. Master, this isn't the answer. You can't just expel him from the Order after all he's done. He needs help, can't you see that?
This decision is final, Cassius. I'm sorry. This is the best thing for Corbin. He needs to find his peace outside of the Order.
Cassius felt helpless. What could he do? He couldn't go against the Council. He was boxed in.
Cassius?
Cassius looked at Corbin with tears streaming down his cheeks. I'm sorry, Corbin. Corbin stared at his friend, a look of betrayal and sadness across his face. The two guards escorted Corbin to the elevator as the two of them stared at each other until the door closed. Cassius was sent from the chamber. He felt empty. His heart shattered. Within the course of an afternoon, he had lost his best friend and closest companion. He felt sick. A pit formed in his stomach that no amount of medicine or meditation could possibly fix. He found a quiet corner and sat, burying his face into his knees. He couldn't stand the company of anyone in this moment. All the while, Corbin was escorted with his belongings away from the Jedi Temple and down the steps where he and Cassius used to sit and enjoy the immaculate beauty of Coruscant's skyline. Corbin was filled with so many conflicting emotions. Betrayal, anger, sadness. Taking one final look at the temple, his eyes burning from his tears, he left and made his way out into the city. Inside his cell, Dravok sat. A guard came by to deliver his food.
You gonna eat this time, or am I just gonna be picking up more rotten slop?
Dravok stayed quiet.
You know, you should be thankful you're getting any food at all, after what you've done. If it were up to me, I'd let you waste away in here.
Dravok stared at the guard.
What? Did I say something to upset you?
Dravok smirked and continued staring.
If only you knew just how insignificant you truly are in the grand scheme of things. I almost feel sorry for you. What? Look here, Sleemo. Last I checked, you're the one in a cell.
Dravok looked at his surroundings.
My stay here is only temporary, I assure you. Ha! Delusions of grandeur. You're in there as long as the Chancellor deems it so. Your Chancellor is nothing more than a glorified celebrity. My fate won't be decided for a very long time.
You, on the other hand,
What are you blabbering on about?
one doesn't have to be a Jedi to see your future, son. You'll spend the next 40 years in this hellhole, serving free meals to caged lunatics. All the while your wife and son struggle to get by on your meager salary.
What did you... How did you...
You can't hide anything from me. I know everything I need to know about you. Tell me, what does your wife think of her prison guard husband? Does she stay up late at night, longing for a time when she was happy? And your son, oh, your poor boy. Does he enjoy spending his playtimes in the lower districts slumming away with the vermin?
The guard clenched his fists in anger.
Get out of my head!
I wonder if he knows who his real father is.
The guard yelled and pulled out his stun baton and entered the cell, beating Dravok senseless.
Talk about my family like that! I'll kill you!
2 more guards heard the commotion and came by, pulling their co-worker off of Dravok, who lay motionless and wounded on the floor.
Davin, what did you do? He was...
One of the guards activated his comlink.
We have a prisoner down. Transporting him to medical now.
2 of the guards restrained Dravok before loading him onto a small hovering transport. Back at the temple, Cassius sat by Sarah's bedside. She was still asleep. He held her hand in his and stared at her face. Her peaceful expression provided some small amount of comfort. I don't know how I'm going to tell you, Sarah. None of this is right. None of it. Why? Why did it have to be like this? The door opened behind him. He didn't turn to see who it was. Slowly, he felt the hand of his master on his shoulder. He looked up at her. Her kind eyes filled with pity. Cassius stood and buried his face in his master's shoulder as he sobbed silently. Neither of them said anything. Master Takai gently held on to her pupil and allowed him to cry. The guards took Dravok to the prison's medical bay, where the doctors began to look him over. He'd been beaten severely by the aggravated guard. As one of the doctors grabbed a syringe full of a stimulant and placed it to Dravok's neck, Dravok's eyes shot open. Grabbing the syringe, he quickly stabbed the needle into the eye of the doctor, killing him instantly. Before the second doctor could even react, his throat tightened and closed off, as Dravok choked him through the force, snapping his neck. Hearing the commotion inside, the 2 guards rushed in only for their weapons to be pulled from their hands and their skulls violently smashed into each other by an unseen force. Dravok spat out blood from his cut lip and grabbed the key to his restraints, freeing himself. Looking around the room, he noticed an air vent and pulled off the cover before crawling through. He hadn't been crawling for long before an alarm sounded. Quickly, he shuffled his way through until he was over the contraband quarters, where the belongings of each prisoner were kept. Opening the vent cover, he dropped down and began searching. It was here somewhere. Then he found it, his lightsaber. Clipping it to his belt, he climbed back into the vent and crawled until he reached the central ventilation system, and dropped down, cutting through a maintenance droid as he landed. There was a way out of here somewhere. He could hear the voices of guards from nearby. He had to be quick. Looking down into the large rotating fan blades of the ventilation system, he closed his eyes before freezing the blades in place with the force and jumping down, falling 50 feet before landing on a barred metal grate. Below it, he could see the streets hundreds of feet below and speeders flying by. He had to time this just right. Cutting a hole in the grate, he leapt down, landing on a speeder and quickly disposing of the passenger before flying off into the night. He'd escaped. Now, he needed to get to a spaceport in the lower levels and get off-world. He was right. His prison was merely temporary.